Hi everyone, Sauron over here and I'm back again with another video, this time on WoW character boosting and why it's so popular. If you don't know what I'm talking about, strap yourself in because it is one of the more controversial parts of World of Warcraft, but also one of those areas that has just become the norm within the game. Before we continue though, if you could do me a favour and like and subscribe the video if it's useful to yourself, and obviously hit that notification bell just in case you miss some of the upcoming updates. Don't want that to happen. So the main question is, what is a boosting service? Simply put, it's a process of leveling your character or advancing your character by participating in content that might be out of reach of the player's skill set. This covers leveling through endgame content such as raiding, mythic plus keys, PvP, and pretty much any aspect of the game nowadays you can get through a boosting service. The thing is it's not a new concept. This has actually been happening since vanilla, just not as legitimately as it's happening nowadays. What it was more commonly referred to back in the day was power leveling. This was commonly lumped together back in the day with gold farming and gold selling, Chinese gold farmers. How it basically worked was that you would pay a service to play your character. Whilst many of these services use real people, there was instances of game sweatshops, they would play the character for you. Many of them used bottom software. Now, that's a whole different kettle of fish. That's something for another day. I highly recommend you watching Marquis Dragon's interview with Jared Segura for an in-depth view of virtual currency trading and power leveling. He was the guy back in the day when it was running everything.
I am the king of the Chinese side of the gold farmers. So anytime you hear about Chinese gold farming or anything like that, I probably have something to do with it.
I think the main thing that has changed throughout the years is botting or self-sharing or anything like that on a Blizzard account is against terms of service. So what it actually means now is player carries. It's a lot more civilized, it's a lot more professional, and you can effectively play the game yourself. I'm not gonna lie, there are still power leveling services being offered out there. Some of them even purportedly offer protection from Blizzard bans. I don't think that, that's as legit as they say it is. But, the majority of these sort of player carry services are quite common. If you've ever been in trade chat, you'll just see the want to sell, want to sell, want to sell. These are from some of the biggest boosting communities on the planet when it comes to World of Warcraft. You've got the Gallywix, you've got Twilight, Icecrown, Ravencrest Union. You've seen them all. The main thing though is what these services actually offer are carries. Now, these are with other real players. These are people who are playing their own accounts, and they're overgeared and they're very easily able to carry players through any particular type of content. It's getting so good now that you can either partake in the content. You can actually tag along and learn the fight, do whatever. I wouldn't recommend learning the fight in this instance, but you can either tag along or you can actually AFK at the beginning of the dungeons. You can receive all of the in-game loot. You can receive any of the information there. A lot of people though do see this as pay to win, and it's not going to get you very far when it comes to joining a raiding guild unless you know the tactics, unless you know the fights or the bosses, the mechanics, how to play your class. So there are some downs to player boosting. Now, I have used some of these boosts before in the past. I'm not going to lie, might be a weekly cache that I've just not had time to get a key for. I'm a DPS character, I don't tank, I don't heal, so I can't just jump straight into a group. So I have used these boosting services before in the past, and to be honest, it's been some of the friendliest customer service that I've ever received for any service. As I say, it's professional, it's also civilized. It's a lot different to back in vanilla, back in TBC, where, it was shady back in the day. So I think the main thing for me is it illegal and against the terms of service? Like I mentioned, botting is 100% against the terms of service. Account sharing is 100% against account sharing. It's been a long road to get to World of Warcraft gold-only boosting services. But Blizzard's stance is pretty straightforward most of the time. As long as you're self-playing your character through a raid, a Mythic Plus, PvP, and you're not using another person to play your account for you, and it's relatively straightforward to say yes, it's within Blizzard's terms of service. If you've got another player playing on your account, you'll more than likely get banned for account sharing. I think one of the key things is where it actually starts to break Blizzard's terms of service is how it's paid for. If you purchase it in-game for gold, it's not against the terms of service. It's all contained within World of Warcraft ultimately. So Blizzard are completely fine with that. Where it basically breaks Blizzard's terms of service is where you start using real-life money for in-game services. Whether you're buying gold, unless you're using Blizzard's token system. Where you are using real life gold to buy a boost or to pay to join a raid, or buying a mythic spot on a raiding guild, anywhere where you actually buy real services for real money, that is where Blizzard's terms of service comes in. There have been several top guilds that have had members banned for doing exactly this. There was 6 months bans for RMTs, such as the majority of Limit Guild. They were banned for RMTs. That was back in 2017. You also had Gingy from Method and a few others back in 2017 who were banned for RMTs as well. Wildcard Gaming in 2019 got banned for it as well. Some of the biggest guilds in the world have been banned for RMTs. This was a way for guilds to make money outside of World of Warcraft, because let's face it, until World First races came along, or the MDIs or anything, there wasn't much of an aspect of sort of PvE making money in World of Warcraft. So guilds had to make money that way. These are big guilds making these decisions to sell spots in raids for RMT, to make real life money, to earn a living. But don't forget that guilds, like entire guilds, have been banned because of one player selling an RMT spot. So no one's safe within a guild if someone is doing an RMT. Some people don't see an issue with RMTs and think that Blizzard's terms of service is a little bit harsh. People are trying to make a living. But Blizzard have actually come out and said why it breaks their terms of service. Now, Blizzard's stance is, if you're using an RMT or a third-party service, you can't protect players of transactions made outside the game. Pretty straightforward. Many people do highlight, it is because, Blizzard are being cut out of the transaction because they want to make money via game tokens. So the pessimist in me totally agrees with that one. But then from a business savvy perspective, I totally understand that Blizzard do want to protect the players, and they've got nothing to protect a user from if they get scammed out of real life money. It's out of Blizzard's hands at the end of the day. I think it also got quite out of hand as well, where RMT services were spamming looking for group for dungeon carries and everything like that. It actually made it really difficult for people to actually find a legit group that wasn't selling RMT services. Blizzard did come out and ban the use of that. You do still see the odd one, but it was harder to find a legit group than to find an RMT back in the day in LFG. If I'm honest though, Blizzard have done a very good job of incentivizing legal RMTs through the game token solution. I totally get that they've got greater protection in place because of the game token. You can get the gold direct from Blizzard. You know that it's not dirty gold, and there's common pitfalls that revolve around dirty gold. It doesn't remove all of the issues. There are still problems with gold trading on servers. You can trade in-game gold for the carry. Like I say, the boosting services, some of the best customer services I've had. They've got anti-scam systems in place where you can request screenshots in the game and a whole host of stuff. But they've had to put that in place because scammers have been impersonating the carrying communities and scamming people for the gold. They're basically just taking the gold and they're running. There was also that time that Blizzard GMs actually disbanded an entire guild in the past. It cost them the entire contents of the guild bank. Was around about 10 million gold. And it was for effectively gold laundering, even though they were found to be innocent and everything was actually restored in the end, mainly because one player had taken dirty gold from a different player, and Blizzard just went, you know what, boom, done, disbanded your guild and you've lost your guild contact. It was good that they actually, looked into it and restored it, but that just shows how serious it can actually get. But then I can hear you asking, why don't you just buy a character boost from Blizzard? You can get one, you get a free one with the new Shadowlands expansion upgrade if you get one now. It normally comes with expansions. Currently, Blizzard are selling the BFA expansion for, I think it's half price in the summer sale, where you get a free 110 character boost. They can actually be purchased from the Blizzard store at the end of expansions. Like, you can actually buy a level 120 boost right now. Again, the skeptics say that Blizzard are simply trying to cut out the middleman. And like I say, I kind of agree. But I'm on Blizzard's side on this one. They're just trying to make it as seamless as possible. It's improving the efficiencies of game master time. It's improving efficiencies of customer service time if you go to them direct. The question that everyone seems to have is, why are these boosting services so popular? So, you can boost a character, you can boost for leveling, you can boost for gearing, you can do a whole host of things. I think that's the key element right now. The whole premise of the game is to achieve the best gear possible. People do play for the lore, people play for the experience, but ultimately people want to upgrade the gear. They want to get the best gear possible for their characters. They want to get the best titles, want to get the best mounts, etc. It leaves players with a constant need to feel like they have to gear up if they're lacking behind. This need is often blocked by a variety of factors, such as, the unintentional gating of content by other players. A prime example is external scoring systems of how good you are, such as, Radar.io and WoW logs. It stops players who are freshly geared, or players who have played the game and slowly geared their characters up. They might be having a lack of time or anything like that. It stops these users getting into raids or Mythic Plus groups. To get into the good groups, you've been told that you have to get good, but to get good, you have to get into the good groups to get good. Tactics, game, play, the gear you're wearing. You can only progress in the good groups if you've already been in the good groups. It's a bit of a backward system. And then you've got the other side of the coin, where it's, requirements that are needed for raiding and learning Mythic Plus. They either don't have the dedication, they don't have the commitment time, countless wipes on a boss in a raid, they may feel that that's a waste of time. They just want the loot. And I think that's the problem. People aren't willing to put the time into the game to learn the boss fights, to get that sense of achievement. They just want the free loot. And I think that's key to where the boosting services come into play. It taps into that need for instant gratification. No one does like to grind and put effort into something. And if they don't like that, why the hell are they playing World of Warcraft? It is literally a grinding game. So what better way to do that when there's no skill required to achieve the best in the game? There's a boosting service out there. If you want gear, buy the gear. Pay to win. Simple as that. And that is why one of the key elements of why they're so popular. We've all been in Mythic Pluses where, you're looking at a gear that a player's got, particularly tanks, and they've got no clue of the tactics. They might not even know what fixes are going on in this week. They constantly wipe, and, you think to yourself, you've clearly boosted your character. That is a problem. That is a problem for, mid to casual players. It's extremely frustrating for everyone involved. Some players do take it to the extreme and just go straight into abuse mode, as opposed to pointing out mistakes. Players need to learn. Some of the best pub groups I've actually been in have been where, people actually communicate and, say, oh, by the way, you need to, block that, or you need to interrupt that, or whatever. They are running before they can walk with the gear. It doesn't mean, you have to be completely awful about it. It might be an instance where it's a different character that they don't main on. So I main on a warrior, I tried out a healing spec on a shaman, I geared up on world quests. My first couple of Mythic Pluses were horrific. You know, I learned a lot very quickly. But just point out at the beginnings, like, look, first time healing or, you know, whatever, that can soften that blow a little bit. I think there are, you know, legitimate reasons for using boosts as well. That's the other side that I want to discuss. You know, players might have time constraints. You know, take me for example. You know, I've got a small daughter who's just turned 1. I've got quite a time-consuming job. So, you know, there was a time in the past where I was guildless. You know, my rate of IO score was very, very weak. And, you know, I needed to complete a Mythic 10 to get decent loot for the weekly cash. So, you know, to avoid wasting time and trying to get into groups, being rejected, wiping, whatever, I just bought a boost as it was, you know, pretty much guaranteed to get me gear. That didn't stop me from learning the fight and reading up on the fights beforehand. I didn't just buy the boost, get the gear, and then all of a sudden rock up for the TR raid. I tried to learn as much as I could. I played my own carry. I didn't AFK. You know, there was lots of different things going on, and I think that's where you know, there's legitimate reasons for boosting as well. The other side is players might actually be in a guild where, you know, they are under-geared from not making it into the main raid roster for a guild. I've been in that situation before where I've been left out of raids, you know, but the guild don't have enough characters or players to do alt runs. You know, players are stuck between a bit of a rock and a hard place because you know, they can't get the curve, and then they can't get into any of the pug groups, but then they can't get into the high-end mythics because they can't get in because of the lack of gear. You know, it's getting good isn't easy sometimes, and I think that's where level boosting can be helpful. WoW boosting is popular. First and foremost, it's not going to go away unless Blizzard turn around and say, you know what, we don't like it. The service you get from boosting services is phenomenal. As long as players aren't just rocking up gearing, returning to the game gearing, and thinking that they, you know, deserve spots in the top end tier systems, then, you know, it's gonna continue to happen. What do you think about the WoW boosting experience? You know, do you think it's a necessary part of the game? You know, or do you know, despise their entire existence? People do go either or. They don't sit on the fence. They're either very passionate around it, or you know, whether they like the service, or they're very passionate why they don't like the service. So, you know, please leave your thoughts below. You know, it'd be great to get a discussion going on in the comments section. So yeah, I think that's my brief take on WoW boosting services. I went on a bit of a rant on this one. You know, if I've missed anything, please, you know, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. You know, let me know if there's anything that you want me to cover from a, you know, World of Warcraft related aspect. I quite like doing these videos because they're a little bit different. They're not talking about the new expansion. They're not talking about the new gear. These are just some little ideas and some little discussion videos that I love to make. So anything that you've got, you know, please feel free to leave a comment below. But as per usual, please like and subscribe to the channel. I've just broken 200 subs, which isn't a lot at all. But, you know, for me, it's a great little idea of people liking my content. So if it was helpful for you, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.